All right, lesson 1.2. I'm going to jump right in and keep this as short as possible. This is a longer lesson, so you may be looking at 20 to 25 minutes. If at any time you just need a break, that's why you have a video. You can pause it, get up, do jumping jacks, get you a snack, come back, and do all of that. This is all that you have assigned for today if you're staying on pace with me. So 20, 25 minutes. I get it. It's not the most fun thing you could do, but hopefully it won't be that hard for you. So the last lesson, we talked about sequences and what is a sequence. Well, now we're going to get into one of the two types of sequences. The first type is arithmetic sequence, not arithmetic, arithmetic sequence. And an arithmetic sequence is a sequence that adds by the same number each time. So every time, if I look at all of my terms, every number in the sequence, I'm like adding. I'm doing plus 3, plus 3, plus 3, or subtracting. If I go from like 5 to 4 to 3 to 2 to 1, I'm subtracting 1. That is the same thing as saying plus -1. So I'm still adding, but I'm adding -1. All right, well, what is a common difference? Well, the common difference is that number that is being added. And we abbreviate that with the variable D. Oops. D for difference. So we're going to look at some examples where we decide if they are arithmetic, meaning they add by the same number every time. And if they're arithmetic, we're going to see what the common difference is, and we're going to find the next 3 terms. So let's look at number 1. Anytime you're checking to see if it's arithmetic, you need to check all the numbers, all the way through the numbers that it gives you. So if I look from 5 to 8, 5 plus 3 is 8. Plus 3 is 11. From 11 to 14, plus 3, and plus 3 again. So since I added 3 every time, that means that yes, it is arithmetic. My difference is 3. And now we need to find the next 3 terms. So if I'm adding 3 each time, I would have 20, 23, and 26. Number 2. Let's look. Now my numbers are getting smaller, so that means I'm going to be adding a negative or subtracting. So from 23 to 16, I'm subtracting 7. If you don't know, in your calculator, you can do 16 minus 23, and you get -7. 9 minus 16 is -7. 2 minus 9, -7. -5 minus 2, -7. So I'm going down by 7 each time. So yes, it is arithmetic because it goes down by the same number every time. My common difference is -7. And my next three terms, I need to take -5 and I need to keep subtracting 7. -12, -19, -26. Number 3. My numbers are getting bigger, so I'm going to be adding. So if you don't know, take 2 minus 1, and you get 1. 3 minus 2 is 1. Oh, look, I have the same number. I'm going to stop. No, don't stop. Keep going, because if you do 5 minus 3, you'll get 2. That means 3 plus 2 is 5. And then the next one is plus 3. That is not adding the same number every single time. So that means no, it is not arithmetic. What I want you to do right now is pause the video, see if you can finish questions 4, 5, and 6. All right, hopefully you paused the video. Now we're going to go over the answers very quickly. So number 4 is yes, because I am subtracting 2 every time. My common difference is -2. And my next three terms would be -16, -18, and -20. Number 5 is yes. My common difference is 12. I'm adding 12 each time. And then I would have 25, 37, and 49. Number 6, I bet I tricked some of you. The answer is no, it is not. You probably said, oh, I'm subtracting 10 every time. But if you look, 14 to 4, yeah, that's subtracting 10. But from 4 to -4, that is subtracting 8. So it is not arithmetic. All right, yesterday we looked at some, or not yesterday, I keep saying yesterday, but the last lesson we looked at some video or some formulas, and you learned about how to find a term with the formula. Well, now I'm going to teach you how to find that exact formula. So this is the formula for an arithmetic sequence. Write this in, and then I will tell you what each thing stands for. A sub n equals D times the quantity of n minus 1 plus A sub 1. All right, so what is A sub n? Well, A sub n is just any term. So if I had the numbers 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, and so on, if I said find the 7th term, you would count in that pattern till the 7th number. That's any term. This formula will find any term in a sequence. If you remember, your D is the common difference. N, that is the term number. So if you were finding the 7th term, you would plug a 7 in there. And A sub 1 is the first term. As we do some examples, hopefully this will start to make sense. It's actually pretty easy. So I have some examples, and they say write a rule for the sequence. what that means is you're going to find the formula. When it says write a rule, that's the same as writing the formula. You'll just see it written both ways. So we are given the first 4 terms. I'm going to rewrite that formula. So I can zoom in here. Now for the time being, I'm going to cover this up because that's actually part 2. We don't need that yet. So any term, I'm going to write a generic formula that works for any term. The first thing that I need is the common difference. So how am I adding, subtracting? Look at those numbers and see if you can figure out the common difference. We're adding 4 each time. Now, for now, this n minus 1, you're just going to leave that. You're not actually going to plug anything in there because the n represents the term that we're finding. So if we're just writing a generic formula, we don't have that number yet. We don't know which one we're going to find just yet. And then I'm going to do plus a sub 1. So plus negative 5. And then I'm going to simplify this. So think back to your algebra. We're going to distribute. 4 times n is 4n minus 4. 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. And then if I have plus negative 5, that's the same thing as saying minus 5. And then I combine my terms. Negative 4 and negative 5, that's negative 9. So here is my explicit formula, or I could call that my rule. A sub n equals 4n minus 9. And now I'm going to find a sub 24. So I'm going to find the 24th term. And you all did this last lesson. If you remember, we take that 24 and we plug it in for n. And you get a sub 24 equals 87. All right, let's look at number 8. If we think about our formula, two things that I need to know. I need to know my common difference and my first term. First term is the easy one. That's 20. And then if I think about my common difference, how am I getting from term to term? If you don't know right off, take 1, 11, and subtract the one before it. 11 minus 20 is negative 9. Test that out again. Negative 16 minus negative 7. Well, that's negative 9. So my common difference is negative 9. And I'm going to plug those in. Negative 9. Remember, the n minus 1 just stays. We just keep it n minus 1. And plus 20. distribute, and combine your like terms. So once you've gotten all of that distributed, you've got your like terms combined, that means that you have your rule or your explicit formula finished, and we can go find a sub 15. So remember, when you're finding a rule, that's generic. That works for any term. So you don't actually plug a number in for n until it tells you. If you type that in your calculator, you get negative 106. All right, here's where I want you to pause the video, and I want you to try number 9 all by yourself. All right, you should have tried this by yourself. Hopefully you got it. If we take this sequence, we'll see that the difference, the common difference, is negative 3. And my first term is negative 6. So when I plug those in, I get negative 3 times the quantity of n minus 1. Minus 6, distribute, and combine like terms. Next, it asks me to find the 38th term. And I get negative 117. If you still feel a little confused, go back to when I started talking about the sequences, the formulas, and re-watch those. If you're still struggling with those, then send me an email. But we're going to move on. Actually, these next 3 examples are basically the same. So if you feel good, you can go ahead and fast forward a little bit. I'm going to write out the answers. I'm not going to spend the video time like actually talking through all of them, because I feel like after 3 examples, the pattern is the same. But I will write out the answers. So for number 10, your common difference is 10. And your first term is 5. So your formula is a sub n equals 10n minus 5, and the 17th term is 165. For number 11, your formula is a sub n equals 5n minus 3. And the 24th term is 117. Number 12. This one might have been a little tricky because it was increasing by a decimal, but anytime you're confused and you don't know what the common difference is, if you take any term, so let's say I take 17.5, you're going to subtract the one before it, minus 16, and you get 1.5. All right, we have just a few more types of questions. So let's look at number 13. We are missing a term in the middle. So if you think about an arithmetic sequence, what happens in an arithmetic sequence? How do you get from term to term? What we do is we add some number that we call the common difference, right? So if I were to go from negative 20 to that number, I would be adding whatever d is. And then I would go from that number to 40, I'm still adding that same number. So I'm going to set this up as an equation. I'm going to say if I go from negative 20, I'm going to do plus d, and then I plus d again to get 40. So I started at negative 20, I added that common difference twice to get to 40. And I get negative 20 plus 2d equals 40. And then I just solve this like an equation to find my common difference. Add 20 to both sides. Then divide by 2. And we get that our common difference is 30. That does not mean that what goes in the blank is 30. That means that the common difference is 30. So to find what's in the blank, I'm going to take negative 20 plus 30, and that gives me 10. 10 goes in the blank, and if I did that again, 10 plus 30 is, in fact, 40. All right, let's look at number 14. Same thing, except this time I have 2 blanks. So if I add my common difference, it's going to look very, very similar to number 13, except this time I'm adding the common difference 3 times. So I'm going to have 31 plus 3d equals 49. And then if I solve that, subtract 31 from both sides, we get 3d equals 18. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 3 to get d equals 6. That means that my common difference is 6. I am adding 6 every time. So to find out what goes in the blank, 31 plus 6 is 37. 37 plus 6 is 43. And 43 plus 6 is 49. Try number 15 on your own. So pause the video, work number 15 out to make sure that you understand, and then we'll move on. Number 15, if you set it up and solve it, you get D equals -6. If you did not get that, look at your work compared to mine. Make sure that you have 4D instead of 3D or 2D. And make sure you solve correctly. And then, so that means I'm subtracting 6 every time. 16, 10, and 4 go in the blank. All right, so what we just did in questions 13 through 15, we had to find the common difference. And then from there, we filled those back in, right? So we use what's called arithmetic means. Now, I didn't really tell you that was arithmetic means, but we roundabout did that. So I'm going to show you another way to find the common difference in examples like these, where you don't actually see the blanks. I'm just giving you two terms. So in order to do that, we're going to look at these two terms. On the top, I'm going to make a fraction. So my common difference, I'm going to make a fraction. On the top, I'm going to take -7 minus 3. And on the bottom, I'm going to take 3 minus 1. And that gives me my common difference of -5. That would have worked up here if I would have, for like number 13, if I would have said, okay, well, -20 is A1 and 40 is A3, that would have worked. 40 minus -20 over 3 minus 1, which is 2. That's kind of what we did, but in a different way. So this way that I'm showing you in number 16 works just as good or better, I think. So this question says, we didn't even really answer the question. Assume the given terms are part of an arithmetic sequence. Okay. Write a rule for the sequence and find a sub 12. So in order to write a rule, I had to have that common difference. So we're good. So remember your rule or your formula is your D times n minus 1 plus A1. I just found my difference was -5. My A1 is 3. Distribute. I distributed there. And combine your like terms. Okay, that is your rule. A sub 12, I'm just going to plug 12 in. And we get negative 52. Number 17, same thing. I'm going to start out by finding my common difference. I'm going to take 6 minus negative 17 over 24 minus 1. We get 23 over 23, which is 1. I'm going to take that to find my rule because the question said write the rule or write the formula. So my common difference is 1 times the quantity n minus 1 plus my first term, which is negative 17. If I distribute 1 times n is n, 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. So my rule is n minus 18. And then I need to find a sub 12. Minus 18 is negative 6. Alright, pause your video and try number 18. Just follow the same pattern, do the same things that we were doing in the last two problems. Alright, for number 18, you should get that the explicit formula or the rule is 4n minus 1. And for the 12th term, we get 47. Alright, we are almost done. I am so sorry that this has lasted so long. Hopefully you've paused it, took a break if you needed to, came back to it later. But the last 3 questions that we have are similar to the 16, 17, and 18. So let's look here. Given the following information, find n. So right off, something that's new is this. A sub n equals 178. That's new. I still notice that I don't know my common difference, and that's something you know how to find. 43 minus 7 over 5 minus 1. So that's something, if you don't know right off, figure something out. See what you know how to find, and maybe it'll hit you how to do it. If I think about my explicit formula, looking at what the problem gives me, does it tell me what AN is? Yes, AN is 178. Do I know what the common difference is? Yes, I just found it. Do I know what N is? Well, no, the problem is asking me to find it. Do I know what A1 is? Yes, it is 7. I can now distribute. Combine like terms. And I can actually solve this. If I add 2 to both sides, (178 plus 178 plus 2 is 180 equals 9n. And then I can divide both sides by 9. To get 20 equals n. So my n is 20. In all of these problems, if you look at it and you're like, oh my goodness, I have no idea, start somewhere. See what you can figure out. Look back at the formula. See what you can plug in. It may get you one step, and then every time you get a new step ahead, you may realize something or be able to do something else. So number 20, same pattern. I'm going to start by finding my common difference. Common difference is -2. And then plug what you know into the formula. I know that A sub n is -30 because the problem gives me that. I know that the common difference is -2 because I just figured that out. I don't know n, so I have to leave it. But I do know that my first term is 4 because the problem also gives me that. Now we can distribute. Combine like terms. And then solve. We get n equals 18. All right, very last question for today, and then you can take a big deep breath and you can wait until tomorrow to do your next assignment. But I'm going to work this one out rather quickly. I'm not really going to talk through it. We've done 2 examples. If you got stuck or if you couldn't figure this one out, go rewatch those last 2 examples and listen to them and pay attention. So for number 21, you should get that n equals 13. As always, if you need help, please email me. I will do my best to get back as quick as possible. It does help if you are a little more specific with what you need help with. So if you get stuck on a specific problem, tell me where you're stuck, tell me what you got, and we'll work from there. Have a great day.